All right, folks, welcome to the how to fill out the Form 941X to amend your previous quarter's tax returns so that you can claim your refund, right? And so this is going to be faster. I'm not going to spend any time going through custom definitions because I think by now you should understand that the tax law applies only to income from or received for government activities or in relation to government at any level, right? So if you're not working for the government or with the government or you don't receive pay from the government, taxes don't apply. So we're gonna just quick summary again. Okay, so again, this is just normal. You fill out your EIN number here, your name, your trade name, your address, etc., so they can identify you. You're correcting a 941, and then here you select the quarter for correcting it. Let's say, for example, we're in September right now, and we were going to correct last quarter, which is April, May, June. And then here we would put the year that we're correcting the quarter in. So that would be 2024. And then here would be the date you discovered the errors, which would be today. In today's case, it's September 11th, 2024. Now let's go ahead and proceed. And now this is a very important section right here. This says part one, only select one process. It says number one is adjusted employment tax return. Nope, because we're not making an adjustment to a return. We are reporting a claim. So you would check number two because you have over-reported taxes, and so now you are looking to get that money returned, and you've overpaid those taxes. Okay, so this is for taxes that you've already paid. If you did not pay these taxes, then obviously you cannot get it returned, right? So now let's go ahead and go for it. We're going to kind of go quickly because again, we've gone through some of the preliminary information as to why this doesn't apply, and so we're kind of just going to tell you the important information, right? So you would check number three, says I certify I filled out or will fill out forms W-2, wage and tax, or W-2C, the W, which is the corrected wages and tax statement, which is what we were talking about earlier, previously in the last section. So you want to send those out to your employer that they're up to date. So you would check that. And then you would come down here, you would leave number four blank because it says if you checked line one, which we did not do, we checked line two for claim. Okay, so we're going to come down here. Says if you check line two, because you're claiming a refund, check one of these boxes. And so here, give me one second here. You have a couple options as far as making the return and reclaiming the return. But for simplicity's sake and for speed, we suggest going with this D. Like what these options are is that you've already repaid all your employees the taxes that were over that were taken out, and so now you've got a letter from them saying that you're going to request all of that, and so all that money is yours because you've already repaid them or reimbursed them. The second option is have a letter from each employee saying that you can file for their return, claim their return, and that they won't make a return over the same taxes that were taken out illegally. And then the assumption there is that after you receive that payment, you would distribute it then to your employees. And then part number three is, it says it's a claim for the Social Security and Medicare of the employer's share only. So only the business owner's aspects of the taxes that are due, the part that the business paid, because you couldn't find any employees and you couldn't have them, they didn't want to sign the letter saying you can um, request to return their portion of the return. Or part D is you're claiming the employer's part, right? The business's part, and then each year so that your employees can file their part and get their portion of their return individually. So that's what we recommend for simplicity and for speed. That way it keeps things as uncomplicated as possible. And remember, when you're dealing with the government or with the IRS, you want to keep things simple. Okay. So check box D and let's keep it moving. Then this should look familiar. Obviously, you put your name here and your EIN here again, and then the correcting quarter, if it's the first, second, or third. In this case, it would be the second quarter that we were correcting, and again, the calendar year that we're correcting, 2024 in this case, in this example. So column one is the corrected amount. Okay, so column two, I'm going to kind of explain this a little bit out of order, but because it's easier to understand. So column two is going to put all of the original information. So everything that you put in the original 941 is you put that same exact thing here in column two, okay, for all of these. And now I'm going to give you the information for the corrected information, okay? So wages, tips, and other compensation, again, in accordance to tax code, how much do you have of this? Zero, right? Because you do not have government employees and you do not work for the government. So wages, zero. Federal income tax withheld. The correction is going to be zero because you again, you weren't actually supposed to be taking taxes out. So this update is going to be all zeros, right? On all of this is going to be zero, 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 zeros as far as the corrected information, because none of this should have been taken out from the beginning. And then, of course, all the previous amount is the same thing as was previously filed under the same on the Form 941. It's the same questions. And then here is the most critical, essential part, right? Line 27, the total, which is lines 23 through 26. And that's where I had to come back up here real quick and go into line 23. You see, line 23 says combines lines 7 through 22. Lines 7 through 22 is all of this that we've gone through, which at the end of the day, you should have a negative total of whatever the taxes that were that you took out. Okay. So whatever, and then down here at the bottom, all of this would you'd go through and you do these these multiplications, but the reality is it's going to be mostly be zero because again you don't have wages, and so you did not have taxes to actually take out. So that was the corrected information. So now everything that you did take out in the previous filing of 941 is what you're going to get back in all those taxes, right? So essentially, line 27 down here is the total of all the taxes that you paid for this specific quarter during this specific year, right? And so that you would put that there, and then down here, if you have qualified health plan expenses for them that you did, again, the current information is zero, 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 zeros. You may have done so in the previous reporting if you do put that information in. So obviously you can get those that information, that money back as well. Okay, so then keep scrolling down. Leave 2031 be unchecked, 32 zeros. And then here your name again, your employee ID, and the correcting quarter and the year. And then just leave this blank. It says reserved for future use. You can leave that alone. And then this information, qualified sick leave wages, again, zeros, 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 zeros. If you had done paid anything towards this previously, put that in here, and then have your total here, which will be a negative amount, which is what you're going to get, part of what you're going to get returned, right? And so all this, and then here is the next very crucial part. Okay, so again, your name, your identificate, your employee ID number, the correcting year and quarter, and then this is the most important piece here. It says explain your corrections for this quarter. 41 you leave unchecked, leave that alone. It says underreported and overreported. It's not the case where we had overreported. So check 42. It says if you've any corrections involved reclassified workers, and what that means is that they were originally classified as wage earners, as employees in your mind, according to the traditional common use definition, which is just people who work for somebody else. But they are now reclassified because they are not. Now that you know that an employee, according to tax law, is someone who works for the government or a government official. So what you here is you have to give a detailed explanation of how you determine your corrections. This is very simple, and learn this. It says we are not employers, nor do we have employees as defined in USC 26 subsection 3401D, and you can search that if you want. And therefore, line 27, which is the total amount of the taxes, is to be refunded, is to be returned. Actually, is what it should be returned per USC 26 SS 3503. And that's it. You don't, it says detailed, but that's all the details they need because the definitions gives them everything else they need to know, right? And so after that, give me 1 second here. We're pretty much done. You just need to sign, print your name, your title. And again, if you have us do it, we'll fill in the information for our information, our contact information, and so forth. And that's it. There's nothing else you need to do as far as this Form 941 is concerned. And we'll see you on the next section, which is Form 1065X. And we'll see you there.